One whisper through the cracks in the xylophone. A factory sensation is a coffee and
Kiss. Mwah. This is my son, Pedro Fernandez. He's 4 years old. And this is our room where we stay in the night inn. My bed and my daughter's bed.
I'm rocking mine with pride, solid up, slightly angled to the side.
I want to be living like this. I never figured I'd be in this kind of situation for my kids to be in this kind of situation.
Green to the T with the caviar, and I check the reference. Musical illusions in the sessions. Plus,
it's the thing about America. You're going to have your ups. You're going to have your downs. You're going to have your greatest moments. You're going to have your hardest moments.
like lemons.
Isn't I say this American dream? It's a whole bunch of crap in my eyes.
Hey you, welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are having a great weekend. So, this was a clip that came off a television broadcast called The Working Poor of America, I believe done by the Four Corners Production Company. And it got me to thinking, Andrew Yang, how easy it will be to pass universal basic income through Congress. And as well, his powers, his executive powers in all of this. Can he use it? Does he have the ability to even use executive orders? So let's talk about that a little bit today and see what we come up with. So Andrew Yang, in this clip, we got a very chilling view of America. This is America. And these people do have jobs. They go to work. But as you can see, they go to work, they live in tents, they live in hotel rooms, not the best, the Nights Inn. And so, this is not what America's supposed to be about. And this goes on so much. There are entire cities full of these people, full of tents, right? And so these type of things is why I think passing universal basic income will be probably a lot easier than some of us might think it will be. But let's start with the hardest thing first and kind of work down with the easiest. So let's say Andrew Yang gets to Washington, D.C. He becomes president. He's now in Congress, and they do not want to implement universal basic income to American citizens for whatever reason. So let's think about an executive order. So we've recently had quite a bit of information about executive orders, especially based on Donald Trump's most recent ability to use his executive order to say there's an emergency, there's a national emergency at the border, because the idea is people are coming in through the border, and they're this giant threat to American people, right? Now, in truth, there were incidents, maybe several. It's been like several incidents where some persons come in from the border and they've committed crimes against Americans or something like that. And I think it's been more of those type of incidents more so than, maybe somebody trying to smuggle in dirty bombs or bring in terrorists and things like that, right? It's probably been incidents like that, as we well know. And there was a fight against Trump about, is this a national emergency or not? Whether it was or not, Donald Trump felt it was a national emergency. So he was willing to declare a national emergency based on that with an executive order. So my question is, or I would pose this statement, looking at something like this that affects so many Americans, right? And this is just part of it where you see the working poor like this. There have been entire documentaries about the hungry children of America, families full of people and children all across America who are hungry. there's also statistics that suggest about 1 out of 5 Americans are hungry who don't eat. Now, when you don't eat and you don't have proper nutrition and access to shelter and the basic things that you need, this is very and this is at epidemic levels. Obviously, we're talking about numbers like 1 out of 5, but how this affects American people, we do we not feel that those are national emergencies, right? Is there no type of emergency to look at that? I would imagine that more people die from this and are affected by this from hunger, disease, and a variety of things without getting proper nutrition. I would imagine it's more people in America affected by this than maybe if a few terrorists can get in through the border, or if a few illegal immigrants can come in and commit crimes on Americans and go back, or whatever they do. And by no means am I saying that the border doesn't need to be secure or anything like that. Of course it does, because people can smuggle in dirty bombs and people do these things. But so I'm not taking anything away from that. But is this not as much of a emergency and problem as that, when 1 out of 5 Americans are pretty much literally on the verge of death from this, right? Because they're obviously their health's deteriorating as a result of all these things. So I think this should be a national emergency, and I feel that it should, to a great degree, warrant at the very least Andrew Yang, as president of Washington, D.C., declaring it a national emergency. Now, the reality is, of course, Congress could fight it and say, well, this doesn't guarantee as a national emergency or a right to use an executive order. And none of these things is, in our viewpoint, serious enough to warrant any of that. Or we have statistics that suggest otherwise, although we're looking at this with our very eyes to see the epidemic here and how problematic it is. But in any event, let's say they do say something like that. Well, they could do that and they could overturn Andrew Yang's executive order on this. However, and here's the big however, if they do that, imagine how unpopular it would be for them to do that, right? Andrew Yang's trying to push this and then stop this. So not only would it be very unpopular with the American people, right? It could be politically career ending for many of these politicians, I would imagine, at the same point in time. So the executive order, I believe, could be used, although it might not be directly effective. It would be, in a great sense, I believe, indirectly effective. Not to mention that, as far as how Americans would react to that. So imagine this: it's more likely that Andrew Yang is gonna win the popular vote, and so he's gonna have a lot of American people backing him up. So imagine he's one president, and now all these Americans have elected him for that purpose across America, and it's somebody in Congress saying no. Can you imagine how unpopular those public officials are going to be? But now going back down to the more confident area where I think Andrew Yang is, and where a lot of people and how I see it, because of the large amount of support that comes over from Trump supporters, from conservative and Republicans as well. Andrew Yang being this kind of candidate who can bring from all sides, right? Everybody Andrew Yang leaves a very good taste in people's mouth when he proposes his policies, no matter what background he's from, even with education. He does so great with teachers as well. He wants to which makes a lot of sense, because a lot of us are sending our kids to school. That teacher is a babysitter to your child all day. They're as much as a parent to them as you probably are, and you're educating your kids at the same time. So what I'm saying is that he's getting support from so many areas, Andrew Yang, that going against Andrew Yang and Washington, D.C., not only do I think if he wins, will it be career ending, it'll be politically career ending. I believe there will be protests in the streets, right? Why is that? Because if there are protesters in the street in front of Washington, D.C., I'm going to make it my business to fly up to Washington, D.C. and be out there with them some of those days. And I'm going to invite everybody else to come with us. So I think getting to Washington, D.C., if we can just get Andrew Yang to the presidency, I think passing UBI, Universal Basic Income, going to be a lot easier than we think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be as hard as many of us, because I think at this point in time, a lot of people think it's impossible. But I think that they're underestimating the dynamics this could have in the snowball effect this could cause once it gets going. And once this guy wins and everybody's waiting on their freedom dividend, I do not think it's going to be popular, or you're going to be a popular congressman in Washington, D.C. when that goes down, because I'm going to be writing letters. I'm going to be encouraging everybody else to write letters to their local congressman about getting this stuff done. And the amount of pressure I think the Andrew Yang movement will put on Washington, D.C., I do not think that it will be as hard as maybe some of us believe. Now, there is bureaucracy. Of course, there are periods of time where it takes to bring things into law and to get it effective into law. And we talked about that in the last video with the phase-in situation and a variety of things. But as far as the goal here, I think that it will go a lot different than many of us think. But that's all I want to say to that. Let me know what you all think about this. I'd be love to hear you guys' comments in the comment section as well. You always give great comments. I love to respond to them, so let's keep it up. Real quick. I have to do this because I have people that depend on me to do this, and that is my project, Bitcoin MYK, a universal basic income program that we have implemented across borders using blockchain technology similar to Bitcoin that kind of creates this value through rarity and through a finite amount through use of blockchain technology similar to Bitcoin cryptocurrency, which you've probably already heard about, and give that out to people every month so they have a right to their basic needs. You can join our website and start earning those universal basic income tokens today and receive them on a monthly basis. The goal is to get them to be worth $1,000 per month every month so you collect that income. There is no need to buy them. These are free to you as your basic right as a citizen of the world. Guys, if you like content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and until next time, take care.